All right, welcome back. All right, so if you recall, let me see if I can share this real quick. We did a story not too long ago. We did this story called the thumbnail says arrest her now. Arrest her now. We're gonna talk about this. See this thing on the screen? I'm gonna read it to you guys in a second, and then we're gonna talk because Omo. It's a part two. It's a part two. Let me share this real quick. 1 second. Share my screen, and then we have this guy. Aha! If you remember this, we did this video with the Alibaba. So this is going to be a sequel to that story. You know. By the way, please feel free to leave me comments and things like that. I would like to continue a conversation. You know, make the conversation, make them more congruent and carry on the conversations as opposed to just ending at my opinion or just one opinion. Um, every opinion breeds new opinion based on people's experience and stuff like that. All right. So this is this particular story. So this is going to be part two to it's a video. So you might want to watch the part two once we're done with the show to get a full grasp of what we were talking about. Okay. So this was called, the video is called The Shocking Truth Why Men Are Calling Police on Their Wives. Alibaba comedian talk. So Alibaba posted a video some days ago where there's a basbos. There's a guy that was trying to walk away. He was running his mouth heavy. He was responding with insults, back to insults from something that seemed like it was his wife. And there was a bunch of women around, and those women were also instigating the lady, but it looked like a cop was not called, a police was not called anyway. But I felt like those kind of escalated situation is, if you have to stay in that situation, if you can't walk away, then the police should be called. And a lot of people come up with all kind of theories to discourage the idea of calling the police or using the authorities. So using the authorities is going to come up a little bit today too, in terms of using the judicial system and stuff like that. Those things are there for a reason. Now we have some of the worst case scenarios, reasons why people will discourage you from using the courts or using the police and stuff like that. Those things, for the most part, should be used when at least one person is feeling like it needs to be used, and you need to embrace that so that you can actually take the time to learn how to respond in case you catch a lawsuit or you catch some kind of lawsuit or a petition or something like that. Instead of avoiding reality, the reality is that the best of us will catch lawsuits sometimes, depending on how much exposed you are to living life. If you're living life to the fullest, sometimes you will catch a lawsuit, you catch a fade in terms of judicial action. But what are we talking about today? So so Alibaba posted a video, and then it looked like there was a lot of back and forth between the man. So as the guy was walking downstairs, walking away from the situation, you see a woman came, I don't know if that was the actual wife, and locked him and started pulling him, even though his hands were like, let me go, but he was, it was insulting her back and all that kind of stuff. Now, in my opinion, I think that man, obviously, there's a lot of stories behind what we saw in that video that we probably won't get. But the reality is that if somebody is insulting and disrespecting you and you don't walk away, you lack self-respect. Let me repeat this. If somebody is insulting you, it's like they're having a conversation with you in a certain manner that's disrespectful, right? You want to check them, you have to say that maybe once or twice and leave it alone. Say, hey, that's disrespectful. I don't appreciate the way you talk to me. And if you have to say that more than twice, you lack self-respect. That's why you're staying there. Okay, there's something about you that is addicted to being right, obsessively feeling the need to be right, and you're engaged in an active argument essentially. You should it's okay to walk away. If you can't walk away, is that bad? Let's say you're a woman, there are children involved, you can't walk away from your children and things are escalating. Absolutely call the police. Absolutely. So I still stand on that. That's why the authority, they're not there to come and arrest anybody, they're there to make sure that there's peace. Okay. Can things escalate beyond control? Yes. Would that be the story that people carry around most of the time and say, this woman will call the police on you and then take it? That's what most people would do. So that's the rest of the story that we're not getting. So this person left this comment on our video earlier on today, and I want to do this as a part 2 so we can read it together. It says, I live in the UK. This is the credibility part. Okay, let me get some credibility. I live in the UK, by the way. Don't tell me I'm talking because I live in the village. By the way, there are many people that live in the UK, in the US, and mindset wise, they still live in the village. I know. You never expect.
I never expected it.
I know. So many. There's so many people that live in the abroad. Some of them have lived here for 35 years. You can take a person out of the village, and sometimes you can't take the village outside of them. In the UK, exactly. Thank you, Jarity. Anyway, so let's get going here. It's very interesting how people try to gather credibility, but the credibility is not deeply rooted. We can tell. We will extract it out of you. We can smell the village in you. And it's not a bad thing to be village, because there's a lot of people that live in the village with wisdom. So this is actually you indirectly suggesting that people that live in the village don't know anything. It's not true either, but we know where you're going with that. I'll admit, maybe I made a little bit of assumptions, but why would you start with I live in the UK? Make your point. I get it. You need some, okay, here's credibility. You live in the UK, bros. I met a guy and we got talking, and he told me that he's from Ibadan. Ibadan, okay. He went on to say that he was working to gather his documents and savings because he was planning to bring his wife in Nigeria over. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about his wife. This is a very important piece of information. His wife, not a girlfriend, not some random chick, not some chick from randomly. His wife. As in, like, the closest human being to him, not even his mother or father, right? As in reality, not just our fantasies, because some of us always say blood is thicker than water. That's not the reality, actually, unfortunately. That's something we wish, right? No, it's not the reality. Blood is not necessarily thicker than water. Maybe physically, if you feel on blood. But as in, like, this idea that we're trying to push when we say that, it's not the reality. The reality is that the person you're having sex with on a consistent basis is the person you're closest with. Okay, let's keep going. So he was planning to bring his wife in Nigeria over. I asked him if he was sure that was the right thing to do, because when our women get over to the West, them heads, they scatter. All right. So what do we mean by their heads scatter when our women get over to the West? What do we mean by that? Right? That's a very loaded statement. I don't want to be dismissive of that statement much longer. I want us to get to what do you mean by that? Right? What do you mean when you say their head scatter when they enter Yankee or Jant? What happens? Why? Right? I'm forced to assume that you know what you're talking about, right? That you're coming from a place that you're absolutely right.
You're right.
But why? We need to get behind why that happens, especially if we're generalizing. That means it's happening a lot. It's happening one too many times, right? So let's address it. Let's get down to the bottom of it, right? Because this solution that somebody should leave their wife 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles away, can you make it make sense? Is it wife? I'm talking about wife. I'm not talking about girlfriend now. Okay, but even girlfriend falls to that category. If somebody feels so deeply invested in a girl that they are contemplating on bringing them over, documents and savings and all, right? I don't think it makes sense to suggest otherwise, that they're not deeply invested. They are invested. There's a reason why they want to bring a whole human being across the ocean. But anyway, so there is this scatter. What do you mean when you say that? And I'm guessing that it gets in their head. They get prideful, right? They start to feel like they're bigger than their husband. Why? How did that happen? How did we get into a place where my wife, the one I paid everything, I imported her, right? How did we get into a place where she deems me so small that everything else she's hearing on TV, from her friends, from her family friends, from girls at the party that goes to Pasuma party every other day at Central Avenue or Martin Luther King Avenue. Every major city, I think, has Martin Luther King Boulevard in this country, in the United States, I think. Right? Why? How did that end up in a place as a man? Right? There are two possible reasons. I'm going to group them under two possible categories. Right? One, she's mad. Her head is just scatter. That makes me ask another question, but let's leave that to the side for a second. The other one is some activities are happening. Culture shock. She's in a different place. She doesn't have family around. She can't hear this one. She doesn't trust you as a leader. I mean, we should just pretend that that's not where she's coming from. It doesn't mean that's your intention. It doesn't mean as a man that you can't be trying to lead, but you're failing at it. But at least we need to identify the actual problem first before we can create the right solutions for them. So he says, them heads, they scatter. As in like, they'll just, as you get to Yankee, as you see Oyinbo people like this, your head just scatter. You just feel like I can do better than my husband. She's starting to feel like she can do better than you just overnight. It's a question. It's a question that you're the right person to answer. Not me. I'm not going to answer for you, right? I want you to just ask yourself, wherever these stories are coming from, ask yourself. And then he goes on to say, this isn't something that I've just heard, but seen happen many times. It's still a personal experience, right? Even if it's you that it happened to. I want you to ask yourself, how did I get into a place where I have a woman that I imported and she lost respect for me? She doesn't listen. She would rather listen to what the TV says or what Beyonce said in the song, even though Beyonce is in her husband's house, or what Ciara said in the song, even though Ciara did her husband's house. That she would rather listen to them than to yield to my leadership. These are the questions that you need to walk through, that you need to answer, that you need to tell us. So he said, this isn't just sunset. He said, bros, in the West. He said, bros, in the West, think twice about bringing your wives over. I don't tell Una. That is a square warning. That is a warning in your face, gentlemen. Right? But imagine this. When I say somebody is invested in a person to the extent that they feel the need that I'm bringing this person over. Why? Could it be just because that's his wife? Just maybe. Like, of course, that's my wife. So what's the alternative if I don't bring my wife over, if I plan to stay here and live here? What is the alternative? What are we working with here? That I leave my wife in Nigeria, right? And be living a single life and then assume that she's living a married life in Nigeria? That brings up another conversation. So you can't trust your wife to live in Nigeria by herself without cheating on you? It's not that. It's not that. But maybe. Let's just assume the worst case scenario, since we're all assuming the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario here is that you bring your wife overseas, her head will scatter and she will call the police on you. And then they will deport you. after spending your life savings and gathering all your paperwork together for your wife. Something is not adding up, is what I'm trying to say. Very true. The UK did jack, or didn't do jack. You mean didn't do jack to their mindset? Yeah, it doesn't. For most people, to be honest with you, we pick and choose when we want the Western world to. It affects our mindset, but there's a certain level you get to. The older you get, the more you pick and choose which part of your mindset you want to be. You want to adjust to the Western world. All of this is coming from people that are just stuck in a certain type of mindset. And it's actually worse for people that travel overseas than people, because a lot of people that live in the jazz, they've evolved in their mindset. They don't have a choice. They live in a world that's evolving. But a lot of people come overseas and they think the travel is all they need, and they get stuck in the mindset of 1976 in Nigeria. I have so many examples, but we'll unpack them as we go. There are people that get stuck in the 1976 Nigerian mindset. The people that live in Nigeria right now, they don't think that way much longer. So how? What do you mean? Because the world is evolving in front of our eyes. You can blame it on West world or not. Of course, there's truth to that to a large extent. There's some things that are just different from the Western world to, if you go back to Africa. But to the largest extent, the world is evolving. If you get stuck, you're stuck. That's just you. Anyway, so back to this story. I need the rest of the story. It's not that simple. You cannot tell a person not to bring their wife abroad and you're giving a very empty warning. This is their wife. So the other issues is what we need to walk through. So let's say where there's culture shock, right? A new environment. She doesn't have family around. There's a crisis between the two of you. You have an argument. Are you very quick to say, hey, I imported you, so you want to argue with me? You can't listen to what I have to say anymore because I imported you abroad, right? Or she can't have an opinion. By the way, keep in mind, there's a good chance that she's already walking on eggshell because she doesn't want to be Abaramorije. She doesn't want to be an ingrate. So when you had on top of that you're coming off as she can't even have an opinion. So at that point, you say, when they enter Yankee, their head scatter. Is that what you meant? Baba, your problem is bigger than bringing them to Yankee. Your problem is bigger. Okay, we know people that married their wife in Niger. The wife, before they brought them to the abroad, because of their manipulative mindset, the wife dumped them before they actually brought the wife abroad. Do we not know stories? You guys have forgotten the bishop story so fast. Who have forgotten the bishop story so fast? The girl did not even get a chance to enter Italy. And when we had a simple conversation with Bros here on YouTube, we were able to pick it apart like, Baba, this is your generalization. What happened? Waiting happened. He told us a little bit. Before we know it, the girl came out and told us the full story. The girl even dumped him before she came to the overseas. Now, if that girl has managed to enter abroad now, they will say, when she entered abroad, that's when her head scatter. Really? Can you tell us the rest of the story? Abi, you want us to wait until your wife will come and tell on you eventually? Yes, Chia. Yeah. We will catch you.
Apa is lie. Sabi lie.
We will catch you. You tell on yourself. So this comment, I get you, bros. But the warning that people should not bring their wife abroad does not make sense. Why? Because of the word wife. It just doesn't make any sense. You need to tell us the rest of the story, the actual problem, so we can actually solve the problem. What manipulative ways do you have? What skills do you have around conflict resolution? When issues happen between you and your wife, are you quick to try to manipulate with I'm the husband? Because she already knows you're the husband, but there's a good chance she's already losing respect for you. But you don't even know how to handle that. You don't know how to earn respect. People must dash you respect. They have to give you respect for free. You don't understand that respect is earned. So it's only get worse and worse and worse. Now, not you, but the people that get in this problem, that's what's going on. They lack the ability to solve problems, resolve issues, and obviously increase their own value by learning how to do so. This is a requirement. This is a required skills, even in the corporate world. How much more inside of marriage, right? So it's very easy. Lack of accountability is what we're talking about. You can't be accountable. You must blame something else or someone else. You blame the Western world, or you blame, don't let me say Oyinbo, because Oyinbos are corporate, but you blame the Western world, or you blame your wife, or you blame someone, or even your children sometimes, because you can't find yourself saying, oh, we got a problem. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's get to the issue. Let's do some root cause analysis. Let's find out why women will enter Yankee and their head scatter. Because I agree with you. Yes, people will enter Yankee, culture shock, their head will scatter. It's not just women, even men. But why? Now, we can't give a generic wife. We have to get down to specifics. People by people, specific cases by cases. You give a generic wife, why a generic why? It's just because they're head scatter. See, that tells me your skill set. That's why you're running into problems. So if it now happens to you, or it happens to someone that you're advising, that person, that person will end up in McDonald's.
You will end up in McDonald's.
And then you will jump back to the internet. I said, I know people that this is happening to. Baba, this thing they happen. I beg. Yes, the Bishop of Generalizations. Welcome, Brother Patrick, sir. People, they bring wives to Lagos from the village. Wife will go wild, dump bobos. Yeah, all the time, sir. All the time. So come up with a better root cause, and then we can come up with a better problem. What do you call solution? Right. So unfortunately, bros, who left the comment, I have to disagree. I don't know if it's a disagreement. I'm asking a question. What causes this head scatter thing? Is it just happening? That's the question. What is creating this head scattering thing? So I'm going to leave all of us at that. Why would women come to the abroad and their head scatter? So we can continue the conversation. What is causing women to come to the abroad? They were imported by a competent man, and then their head will scatter. Okay, outside of their being evil. Okay, because women are just evil. If that's the case, I'm just going to say you're right, because it means the women you've encountered are evil. I can't argue with that. I don't have that experience, right? So what is creating that? Can we have more conversations around that? You can even blame it on, let's get deeper into the West. What is it about the West, right? Let's get into that part of the conversation, but I think I've left a few things here to deal with, and then we'll take it from them. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you are notified when we go live. We have another story to cover. I'll be right back.
Hey Prestige fam, show some love to the video. Hit like, subscribe, and share. Are you in Europe, America, and struggling in your relationship? From argument to abuse and trust issues, we're here to help.
Lola and I founded Prestige Marriage Academy to transform your story. With 20 years of friendship, 17 years of marriage, experience with navigating the ups and downs of marriage, and personalized coaching, includes 24/7 support. Ignorance is expensive. WhatsApp us at +1 732 305 8577 to book a free discovery session today and take charge now.
Don't wing it.
Join us in creating the love life you deserve.